What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Kids Are Talking. This is episode 31. We're talking tonight about athletes and mental health. We've got a great show for you today. We've got some Colby football players, class of 25, coming here at you, and we have Team USA figure skater from 2018 here. So this is going to be an exciting show. I think there's a lot to talk about with the Olympics just ending. Mental health's on the mind of everybody, sports, athletics. So let's get the show rolling and bring out the all-star team.
I want to hear everyone's different perspectives and let everyone know that they're not alone.
It gives me hope for a lot of people because I know there's people that really struggle with
do the things that you want to do to influence the world in the way you want.
Go out of your way to educate yourself by watching the show.
Everybody's always going to be struggling with mental health, yet nobody will know about it.
Kids Are Talking has given me an outlet to share my opinion and talk to people from all over the world. Dr. Don? Can y'all hear me?
With everything going on in the world, that always makes me smile and have happy thoughts, seeing Whitley looking for me.
We're all looking for you, Dr. Don.
I'm
We're
looking for
you
myself.
to help guide this, because I heard that you were an all-star player in your day too.
Yeah, that's part of the story, man. I was kind of a freshman varsity basketball player on Long Island, touted to have a future.
Well, what are you, like 6'2", 6'3"?
I was 6'2", 6'3". My mother even got the guidance counselor, even in those days, got the guidance counselor at my high school to rearrange my classes around me so I wouldn't feel too much pressure in my academic life. Because
and there was still pressure.
What's that?
There still was pressure.
There was pressure, and enough pressure for me. By the time I was benched in my senior year, it was clear that I was affected by all the pressure around sports.
But they didn't talk about mental health in sports. No. Like that wasn't a thing back then, right?
No, but man, it was necessary for me because it was just too much pressure for me as a freshman, and even in 8th grade, they were already touting me. So this is a very personal show for me because of what happened to me. And it was my identity. It defined who I was. And when it was too much, and I struggled as an ADD kid. We've talked about that on the ADD show.
Right.
And mental health, we're talking about that was 1966. Look where we are now. And it's all over the news, and I mean, mental health is a subject we can't get away from, but this is a topic tonight that has been waiting for me and for everybody because it's in the news all the time.
Are you ready to bring out the all-star team?
I'm ready to bring out the all-star team.
All right, we got Brendan Sawyer, we got Jack Sawyer, and we got Laura Jacobson here.
Well, my 3 brave souls, my soulmates. You got to hear some of my story. I relate to the pressures of sports, the expectations of what you're supposed to be. Do you hear any of my story just now, talking to Mike?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, living up to this is a way to start. But I guess what we should do is just say hi. We'll start with you, Jack. Say hi to you, and welcome to Kids Are Talking, and tell us a little bit about your story. We don't want a lot, but because there's so much to get into tonight. But just let us know what your story is and where you see this is a show that's important. So we'll start with you.
Hey, I'm Jack Sawyer. I'm a freshman at Colby College. I'm a football player. I think mental health is important because it's something that everyone deals with every day, whether they're like perfectly fine or if they have a friend that's going through something, or if you're going through something yourself. It's important to just like talk about it. People understand it.
Well, we're glad to have you. I understand you're also a state champion. Weston never had a state championship. I'm sorry I didn't know about it. I would have been to your games.
Go Trojans.
Yes, sir.
Very impressive. The town rallied for you all. I'm sure it was really pretty exciting, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great.
And 2 twins. By the way, was part of your secret that you were twins and receivers, and they didn't know how to pick that up? I know you both twins, right, Brendan? Go ahead.
Yeah. Kind of. They kind of treated us similar. They were just like, yeah, there's 2 guys that kind of look the same. And the same.
Look really old.
Yeah.
Was that a secret weapon? I mean, because here you're twins, you're playing receivers. I don't know. I mean, did it confuse the other team?
Yeah, it was definitely a nice balancing factor having someone just like the other one on each side.
That's pretty. I don't think I've ever heard of that before, so I think that's pretty cool. So Brendan,
Yeah.
so Brendan, welcome to Kids Are Talking, twin brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm Brendan Sawyer. I also play football at Colby. We won a state championship at Weston, and I just think mental health's important as an athlete because, like, everything you do as an athlete's really hard physically, and there's a mental side of that too, where like it doesn't always. You could be the best player in the world, but like there's some days that just don't go your way, and sometimes you just gotta like stick with it, and that's really how it goes a lot of the time.
Well, isn't like training like the training is not just physical, right? Like a big percentage of it is mental too. You have to get in the mindset to get the physical training in there, right?
Oh yeah, no, like a lot like the off season stuff. The biggest mental aspect of that I'd say is like if you go in and you like I don't know, you practice like receiver footwork or something in like March, you're not going to see it right away because you're not playing right away, but you just have to kind of believe that like those results will come in the future.
And also team camaraderie, which we'll get into too. The team spirit is also a big factor. So welcome. Good to have both of you here. I'll have to go watch the highlight reels after the show. I'm going to Google you both and check out what I missed. And then we got Laura Jacobson over here.
Hi. So
Laura.
I'm Laura Jacobson. I currently attend Watchung Hills Regional High School, and I'm a senior. I think mental health is extremely important, not only in sports, but also in daily life. I mean, in sports, it's helpful for training, like to get through training and to keep a positive attitude really reflects on what you're able to produce. Like, and then just in life, it's just a good quality to have and to, make sure you respect it.
And if you can share a little bit about your story, you're a skater, right?
Yeah,
I'm not
figure
sure.
skater.
And how involved was that? Was that a big part of your life?
It was a huge part of my life. I mean, I started skating at age like 4.5, and I online schooled starting in 3rd grade up until this year, actually.
And had nothing to do with COVID. You were doing it way pre-COVID.
I was doing it before it was cool.
You were really ahead of your time. Wow. So how come you were starting in how come online school all those years for you?
Well, skating is a very difficult sport and it takes up a lot of time. I was, when I was in school, I was skating from like 5 a.m. until I had to leave for school around 8 a.m. And that was in elementary school. And then I would skate from maybe like 4 in the afternoon until sometimes 10 o'clock at night. It was just extremely time consuming. So a lot of the skaters at the time were online schooling, and I moved to a higher level rink when I turned 9 or so. And my coaches were like, if you want to pursue this, you've got an online school. You need to spend more time at the rink.
So basically, ice skating was your life.
It was, yeah.
Which I can relate to because basketball was my life. And how did it affect your schooling and your relationships with your friends? And what did it do to that part of your life?
It definitely affected everything, honestly. As far as schoolwork, it was still difficult to get it in. Like I got in 2 hours of homework, maybe a night when I was, skating all day, every day. And it was difficult for me to make friends, especially in the skating world. You never know when someone is like really trustworthy and really wants to be your friend or, is looking at you like competition. It's definitely a different world.
So how far did Laura Jacobson go in her skating career?
I was on Team USA for the 2018 through 19 season, and I competed for the United States in Belgium and in the Netherlands.
Wow. And so how did that work out for you?
I mean, at the time, it worked out relatively well. I had just I was 4th place at nationals that year. So it was going well, except for the fact that I was injured.
What happened to you?
That entire year, I had a labral hip tear and I had a fracture, an avulsion fracture in the back of my left hip, but I skated through it. And I didn't really have too much of a choice to stop because I was improving on my jumps and I was improving on my skating skills. But I was in a lot of pain and I had to learn how to trust myself. I had to learn how to train in a as safe way as I could, and mental health was a huge part of that.
So what
But
happened? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, what were you going to ask me?
I was going to ask you, like, what happened? Are you still? Did you almost go to the Olympics as well? And were you preparing for the Olympics, or how far did it go?
I had an opportunity to train and switch to Israel possibly, and to do pairs and maybe qualify for the Olympics. But at the time I was given that offer, I was struggling with another injury, and that was this past year. So it was just a series of events that didn't really end in success. I got very burned out. I was skating through another injury, and
A lot of
I
injuries.
I had apophysitis in both of my hips this past year, and I went home to heal for 6 months. I had to be off the ice, and at that point, I was so burned out, and I was like, "I need to take a step back, think about what I need to do for my mental health, for my physical health." I was always injured, and I made the decision to go to school this year and to take a bit of a break.
So do you miss it, or you're not skating at this point? You're getting into other things now
I'm
in life.
figuring out how I feel about it. I've never done anything else in my life, so a part of me is like, I wonder what else I'm capable of. Another part of me is figuring out how I feel about the sport, because looking at it from this perspective rather than being in it is very different. I kind of want to learn how to have fun with it and just love the sport for what it is.
Were there
Um,
high expectations for you? That's a question for all of you. I'll start with you, Laura. Just that you become a star football player, star ice skater. It can define who you are, and the expectations become high. Did you feel the pressure, Laura, in terms of living up to other people's expectations?
I really did. There's always a new expectation, there's always a higher expectation, and in a sport, it's never enough. There's always more you can do, there's always more you can push yourself, and sometimes it gets to a point where you need to take a step back and look at everything in a new perspective and say, "Okay, where can I push myself and where do I need to rest and recover and figure out what my plan is?"
So you, yeah.
For pressure, it was always really hard. My coaches would put a lot of pressure on me when it came to performing jumps and when it came to losing weight and when it came to a lot of the performance aspects stuff.
A
And then
lot.
my parents, the pressure was, sacrificing money, sacrificing family things. Like, if you're going to have a sacrifice this, there needs to be success. So I always felt a bit of that pressure on me.
And not time to be a regular kid like you're getting to be now, right?
Yeah, I never went to like too many birthday parties. I didn't have that typical school experience or friend experience.
So you enjoying it? You enjoying it being part of like everyday life now and being able to have that free time?
I'm I am enjoying it. It's definitely different for me. I'll like comment on it in school. I'll be like, "This is so weird. Like, why is everyone packed into this building for so many hours?" But it's
I think a lot of kids think that no matter what.
I'm
Yeah.
sure they do.
So
But
yeah.
yeah, I am enjoying it.
So Jack, what do you and Brendan think of listening to Laura talk? I mean, I think it was probably a different experience for the two of you. Can you relate to some of the things that she was talking about?
Yeah, we definitely. I mean, we didn't start playing football until like 8th grade, so there wasn't that much like pressure on us at that young of an age to like be like the star on that, and we kind of just like grew into like like being like pretty good at it, and like there was pressure like junior and senior year of high school once we had like played for a few years, but yeah, nothing like to that.
Yeah,
level.
I would say, like, and at least for us, like, obviously, because like Laura knows it, as an athlete, like at least for myself, I think out of like all the outside pressure, like I don't feel that as much. I put like so much pressure on myself to like win like every single play
Right.
and every single game, and like every time I step on the field, like even in practice, like if there's a guy in front of me, like I want to smoke that guy. But the good thing about a sport like football is like, especially being a twin, is like you're on a team, so you have other people who like when you're down, you can like lean on it, especially because like me and Jack are wired a pretty similar way, obviously. So like if one of us is pissed, there's a good chance the other one's pissed too. So we can kind of go home and like vent, basically. And like, especially because a sport like football is like, it's different from figure skating where like you can have a bad play and, you know, like still win a state championship. Like if you wipe out like in the Olympics, like you're not winning a medal, even if you're like the best. So that you kind of get more almost like closure in football, because usually if you are good enough and you play hard enough, then things are going to fall your way, where, you know, like a sport like figure skating, maybe not. So I think as far as like that, there's less pressure on us to like perform at like every single tiny little thing. It's more so the pressure we put on ourselves.
And being state champions in Weston, a small town like Weston, did you carry a lot of pressure in terms of the town? I mean, you feel that people were defining you as the football stars, or did you feel any of the pressure to live up to the town's expectation?
I mean, like at the time, because like Weston had never been good at football. So like literally, I remember our first day at training camp, we broke it down. Like, you know how people do like 1, 2, 3, like Weston or whatever. We did Trojans on, because we were the Trojans. We did Trojans on 3 and then champs on 6. And that's how we would end it like the entire season. So we basically set like the standard, like this is going to happen before the season, like no matter what anybody said. Like
just creating that mental
we didn't believe anything else.
So
and
the spirit was there.
Oh yeah, and like all that outside attention and noise, like we loved it, because this is something that we wanted to do, and we wanted other people to actually like believe it for once too. So whenever somebody would, you know, say like, "Oh, you guys better win," we'd be like, "You damn right we should." Like,
yeah, I'm sure the town was deeply invested in your success.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure
It was less of a pressure, more of a like, "All right, let's go." Like it's more of a wind in your sails in a team sport.
So it was, and you feel the same way, Jack?
Yeah, I agree. And like, sure, like there was a lot of buzz around the town, like once the season started, but like we were working, our whole team was like expecting this and working.
Yeah, loved it too.
Like we were like the first game we came out and put up like 42 points in the first quarter, but like we weren't surprised. Like we weren't like, whoa, like what's happening? Like we're pretty good. We knew that like if we showed up and we just like didn't let a player moment get too big, that like if we were just ourselves, like no one was really going to beat us.
So it's a real mental state. Same for you, Laura. Do you think it's a strong mental state? I mean, the problem is that some people, I don't know, but did you feel the pressure? Did it get in your way? For me, it got in my way.
I felt like you know, your mental state is a huge thing. I agree with you when it comes to like being a perfectionist and wanting to push yourself. I feel that so much whenever I'm on the ice, and whenever I was competing. As far as mental state, it's a huge factor. Before competitions, I would have like many different people texting me or saying different things. Like some people saying good luck, some people who were, you know, like putting on the pressure. And I would just like, I would visualize my performances. I would slow down my breathing. And I would just convince myself, like, you're going to go out there and you're going to skate clean. And I would not believe anything else. And I came up with this little trick where I told myself that if I thought positively before every competition, that it increased my chances of doing well by at least 20%.
So what if you lose? What does it feel like when you lose?
Honestly, for me, I just felt like I did the best I could, and it was in the judges' hands. Like, you know, sometimes I would make really stupid mistakes, and I would be upset with myself for it. But whatever happened, and on to the next thing. Like, how am I going to fix it? I was never really, like, super upset in the moment, unless it was, like, a huge, like, you know, ending season competition. And even then, it's like, all right, you got to be upset, recalibrate, figure out what you're going to do next.
You guys the same way about losing?
Yeah. I mean, you want to go first, Jack?
You can go first if you want.
All right, because I
like these twins. You guys actually get along, which is nice.
Yeah.
We're not too like picky.
We don't want to embarrass ourselves.
Very impressive, I have to say. We'll put you on the sibling show for sure. Go ahead.
So the losing question, I think that's like for me like the most interesting question you've asked so far, because like I'm someone where like even if we've won like one game or whatever, I don't know, and we're playing like the number one team in the league. Like, I don't even process the fact that we could literally, like, even any universe possibly lose a game until it happened. So, like, every time I lose or we lose, it's like, in my head, it's like we lost the Super Bowl. Like, I'm someone who, like, after we lose, I'm like slamming my helmet and I'm like punching lockers, and people are like, dude, it's fine. And it's like, what do you mean it's fine? Like, we just lost. Like, for me, like when we lose, like, especially after like preparation you put in, getting up at like 4 a.m. to practice like all week. Like, when I lose, it feels like it literally feels like the world is like ending for me. And I absolutely hate it. Like, that's one of maybe my least favorite thing in the entire world is like walking off the field, like knowing you lost and just having to like look at the other team.
How do you shake yourself out of that, Brandon?
I don't know, going out, but no, like, honestly, like to be completely honest, like our senior year in high school, we lost one game and we're missing half of our starters, and for us it was kind of a wake-up call, like, all right, so now, like, you know, it gets real, like our backs are up against the wall, this is where we go from here. And like, so we're not really, it's been a while, especially since we didn't play last year, it's been a while since we had like lost.
Yeah, tell people about that you didn't play last year, because then the whole COVID piece comes in.
So just a quick overview, we both were supposed to be freshmen last year, but our season got canceled in college, so we took gap years and now we're freshmen here. But honestly, like, a good refresher for me is like after a game, like us and our parents will like go out to dinner, get like a nice meal in us, and then we'll like see our friends and stuff later that night. And for me, it's just like that perspective of like hitting the reset button every week is just so beneficial to me from a mental health standpoint, because like even if you lose 50-0, you have to show up at the field on Monday or whenever and like with a smile on your face, ready to like get to work and be that same exact guy you were the day before you thought you were going to take down the number one team in the league. So for me, it's like I like hitting a reset button, like mentally, especially during like a long, grueling football season, is the most important thing to like being the guy who you were like before the game versus
did you feel like you let people down when you lost?
Oh yeah, no, like our parents will
too?
drive a while for these games, and like they'll be the first ones to tell you, like, when we lose, I'm like apologizing to them walking off the field.
It's like you feel like you're letting people down.
Literally. And like this year, like whenever we lose, I go apologize to the seniors because they deserve better than that.
Yeah. And how about you, Jack? Did you feel similar to your brother?
Yeah, I definitely feel a similar way. Like, whenever, especially because like our senior year, like we expected to win every game. Like the one game we lost, like sure, half our starters were gone, but like it was awful. I mean, we hit the reset button quick on that because we had such like part of getting by it is to like have like a specific goal that you can work for, because then like you get so invested in that like if that ends up like coming out like at the end, like who cares if you lost the one game. But I think this year is a little different, because we were kind of part of a rebuild this year. Colby hadn't won more than 2 games since what, like 2013?
There were no expectations on it. There was
exactly. They hadn't won more than 3 games.
Hadn't won more than 3 games. Sorry. Yeah. But like you could tell in the preseason, like the coaches and everyone. Sorry. Like the coaches and everyone were saying it was different. Like talent level and the intensity level. And then we came out and we lost the first game. Like
to a good Wesleyan team,
really good Wesleyan team. But like, frankly, we thought that like talent wise, like and toughness wise, like we could have beaten. Like maybe they were better than us, but like the fact that like we like lost the game, like it felt like the world was like coming down. But then like you got to find a way to hit the reset button. And we went into Amherst the next week, who Colby hadn't beaten in like 25 years, and then we beat him there. Like had a game-winning drive near the end of the game. So just got to find a way. I mean, losing sucks, but winning's better. So
winning is better. And how about like, Lord, the whole thing? You had all those injuries, right? Like, what does injuries do to an athlete?
Injuries are tough.
You guys are going to answer for that after this, okay? Yeah.
It just feels so limiting. It's always like you have a limit. You want to push yourself, you want to train more, and then there's always that limit. And I think that's the most frustrating part. And you have to take a step back and say, okay, I need to create a training schedule that's going to work with this. And I think that's the way to like, still progress with injuries, but that's like what the sport demanded.
But how much pressure? How much pressure? I mean, I'm going to ask the guys after you in terms of the pressure you feel in terms of the body and how much what you do to the body. You hear with ballet dancers. I used to treat a ballet dancer to the point that her feet would be bleeding after her dance practices. I mean, how much do you have to pound the body to win at all costs?
It's so much. I think that a lot of people overdo it. I think certain coaches believe that more is better.
Yeah.
And even like parents too. And skating, I mean, I know a lot of sports is just repetition, and
Right.
skating is like that too, but there's always a point where you're like so close to being injured or hurting yourself. So having a training schedule that fits in active recovery, that really emphasizes that part more than just the training and pounding your body. And I would do like 5 hours of skating some days and then 3 hours of off ice training, Pilates, running.
Do you develop? Did you find that you developed other parts of yourself? It seems like your whole life was so built around your skating. Did you, in terms of other interests? Like I was thinking, like if you get injured, like do you listen to music? Do you read a book? Do you?
I mean, I really did not get to take too much time off when I was injured.
Wow.
When I did actually have to take time off for my labral tear surgery, I was off 1 week right after surgery because I was on the pain meds. And then the week after, I was swimming for 2 hours because it's no pressure. I was working with a personal trainer just on really light upper body things. And I was doing cryotherapy every day. Like it was still 5 hours of active recovery, but mentally, I still did not get a break.
So what drove you to be the skater and make this such a singular passion for you all these years? What was it that drove you to just be this one thing in your life? Was there anything in particular that made you decide to?
It was hard. I have other interests. I have a lot of other interests. I love musical theater. I love writing. I like drawing, but
It's good for people to know you don't have to just be an athlete, right, guys?
yeah.
And
It's hard to
finding
have all
time,
those.
finding time for that was right, and now you have time finally.
Yeah, it's hard to find all those spokes in your life. Because like at the age of 10, I was getting pretty good at acting, which was something I was doing at the time in musical theater, and I was also getting pretty good at skating. So my parents came to me with a choice, like, all right, Laura, you can pursue one or the other professionally, you can't do both.
Yeah.
And I just chose skating. And that was it. That was it. And then it was like full speed ahead.
Wow.
And I didn't even know what I was getting into.
And now you're not sure, right, what you're going to do with it all, right?
Now I'm really not too sure. What I loved about skating was just expressing my emotions through it. I loved the athletic parts of it.
But getting your emotions out, expressing your emotions is a big part of it, right?
It was a huge part of it. It was a huge part of it. And just showing the world what skating could be and how beautiful it can be.
Right.
And just like, it's almost like a superpower. Like I can defy the laws of physics, but sometimes it can get to a point that it's just, you have to value your mental health over the sport, because once no one really cares about your mental health, or you don't take it into account, and the artistry and the performing and all of that is lost, it's hard to still love the sport.
Let's talk about, there's a question, should coaches help you with your mental health issues? That's a question for all of you. Each one of you can go ahead, let you guys answer that, and we'll get back to you, Laura, on that one, because clearly mental health being such a factor is how important are coaches. I always felt that every team should have a therapist. I don't know if that happened it happens in high school sports or with skating, but what about that question on the table?
Yeah, so at least at Colby, like the coaches have a policy where like obviously it's like if you ever need to come to them, obviously do that. And then if you ever need to take time off for your mental health, that's true.
Yeah, that is true.
But
Dan Hassett. Is that,
like, what was I saying?
Got a friend who's Dan Hassett, by the way?
Western
high school
coach.
coach.
Oh, okay. He's probably watching. Well, he's glad to hear that. Yeah, go ahead.
But So, like, and then if you can go to if you need to take time off, you're more than welcome. And our team actually, like Colby Sports, there's sports like psychologists, I think 1 or 2 of them, that are like in the training room that you can always go and like talk to confidentially. And there's a lot of like mental health awareness stuff here, like especially like our coach will address it pretty regularly. Like if you're struggling with something, go get help. Like nobody's gonna look down upon you. And I think that's been like a big thing, is like getting rid of the stigma around sports, where like you're not like weak if you get help, because you can't control it.
That's
and like our coaches really address that.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it, that athletes, get to this whole macho thing, and you have to be strong. I mean, look what's happened with Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, and we're going to talk about what happened with the Stanford girl in a little while. But I mean, it's just the other thing I was asking, Jack. Do you want to say anything about that, or Laura jump into that?
Yeah, I mean, I think coaches should definitely like promote the idea that mental health is important, and like give you, like Brendan said, give you like someone you can talk to if you like need to, and like allow you to take time away if you think that would help you out a lot. Yeah.
And Laura?
I agree 100%. I feel like coaches should be there for their athletes, and if they can't talk with them, I feel like they should, have someone that they could talk to, or maybe recommend someone they could talk to, or let them take off for mental health. I think it's extremely important.
So you understood when Simone Biles, a lot of people said she shouldn't have, she disappointed her teammates.
I think a lot went into Simone's decision, honestly. I mean, it was also extremely strong for her to make that decision. It helped me even make my decision to take a step back for my mental health, like seeing how she was able to, as a strong athlete and as someone who knew the stakes that were there, like decide that she knew her body better than anyone else, and to step back because she felt that she wasn't going to be safe performing her I don't know what they're called, like tricks. I don't know what they're called.
Well, the other thing to say is also, not only do we have to have the individual mental health, but like the team. Like sometimes teams, like if you, like in football, like you guys probably felt with this. Sometimes you were like, there wasn't the team chemistry going, or there was personality conflicts probably with the kids. Sometimes, did they have the team? Did there was a focus on team and group therapy as well?
Do you want to take this one, Jack, or should I go first?
I can do it. I mean, like on the state championship team, like sure, winning was great, but like the camaraderie with the guys was the best part, hands down. Like I'll go to my grave saying we could have been 0-10 and still had a great time with those guys. But like, I think like the more your teammates are there for you, it eliminates a lot. Like if your teammates are there, like they'll listen to you, like if you're struggling with something, and help you out. And like they shouldn't, if they're good teammates, like they'll never judge you and they'll support you with like whatever decision you got to make.
But Jack, Brendan, sometimes you might have somebody who's getting in the way of the team or the spirit of the team, right?
Yeah. So one thing that Coach Hassett in high school and Coach Kaz have done a really good job stressing here is that the team's like a family, and like culture is really important. And like our culture there and our culture here is good enough that if someone's being detrimental to the team, like they're gonna get called out, not by one of the coaches, but by one of the players. Just because we've set like a standard on like how you're supposed to act, and like that's not going to come from a place of like hatred. It's going to come from a place of like, do you like deserve to be on this team if you're a detriment to it?
How tough does a coach get with their team when you're coaching in sports? I mean, some coaches, like for instance, we've seen Tyler Skaggs, the California Angels pitcher who died from opiate overdose. Now I think with the guys getting 20 years, the trainer, whatever, there are some people that push so hard to win in sports. And how important is the coaching in terms of how much does a coach push?
Yeah.
Well, you can go, Brendan.
You go.
Well, I think there's definitely a fine line, and like there's no definitive points, because like obviously if you're winning, like no one minds if the coach goes further, but then if you're not winning, it stinks. But yeah, I think there's a boundary between like pushing the guys hard and then just like doing it to the detriment of the team. Because like I think the coaches should should expect every player to do their job perfectly on every play, and shouldn't accept anything less than like 100% effort and stuff. But I think there's a way to also do that, and Coach Hassett was really good about this. There's a way to do that
So if
that
somebody,
motivates people to want to do that instead of being like, screw this.
so this is all for if somebody's having a mental health problem, it's important, right, for the coach to tune in, right, or for the person, the player, to say, hey, I'm not being weak, to go in and have that kind of respect and safety net, right?
Mm-hmm. And coaches these days are really good about understanding that.
It's gotten
There
better, I
weren't as
think.
many
Yeah.
issues about it in high school, but college, everything's really busy, like with classes and stuff, and we practice at 6 a.m, so that gets tough.
Boy,
But
I know, a lot of hours.
like our coaches here have been really responsive and like understanding to a couple of guys on the team that have like struggled with that kind of stuff.
So there was an article in the Style magazine section, New York Times, called Bigorexia, and we had a thing on the Body Image show last week about guys in terms of bulking up. We were talking to Laura about getting injured and what it does to you as football players. And you play lacrosse too? Is it football and lacrosse?
We played lacrosse in high school.
For a year in high school.
For a
How
year,
much-
and then
how
our
much-
senior year got canceled because of COVID.
Yeah. How much focus is there on body image, body weight, social media? That's, Laura, you can address this too, I'm sure, in terms of how bulky you get, and how much do men feel that pressure? Because we talked last week about women feeling it, but what came out last week on the show is that men, in some ways, it's perceived that men even have a bigger problem with all that. So as football players who are considered, it used to be the macho kind of thing, how does that relate to what you two have experienced?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different position by position. Like we're receivers, and like we're like pretty like big,
Pretty big receivers.
And
We're
so,
like linebackers who play receiver.
Like right now, we're just trying to like stay at the same weight and not get like huge. So we're not like obsessive over like how much we're lifting and stuff. But there's definitely guys in football and then in other team sports that like get kind of caught up in that. Like we've never been huge like, oh, post all your workout videos and like brag about them, because like you don't want to like shame someone who's maybe like not at that level yet.
Yeah.
But it hasn't affected me personally, but like I know a few guys that definitely like feel that pressure.
Yeah. And there's at least in football, like there's guys who like try really hard. Like there's guys who've been, like skinny guys all life who are in like really good shape, who like try really hard to, like bulk up for football. And like that's actually hard, because then they're like eating. It's not always healthy, because they're literally just eating until they're like so full, just because they're trying to bulk on mass. And then with some linemen, like some of them like stay at weights like for football that they wouldn't want to be otherwise. And like you see even like a lot of the guys on our team, like they'll like in the 2 months after the season, they'll drop like 30 pounds just because they were like maintaining a weight that they wouldn't otherwise do, like just to play football.
And
So,
social media gets in there too, right? We talked about social media.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of
yeah, I mean, at least among the guys on our team, most people that I've encountered are more worried for like a football sense and stuff, and then but there's obviously people who are like, who's like an offensive lineman and who could be much leaner if they wanted to, and they're like, man, I want to look good, like it's college, I want to look good. But at the same time, there's like pressure to like maintain that higher weight so they can like bulldoze and nose tackle on Saturday.
How about COVID for three of you? How much did COVID affect the sports world and affect the three of you? Is there anything that you want to say about that, Laura?
I guess I'll start. I mean, COVID was honestly probably more intense with the training than when I was at the rink. I didn't really get a break. All the coaches, the minute we went online, it was, okay, we're Zooming workouts. We're starting at 7 a.m. And even at that point, I had a personal trainer who was having me start at 5 a.m. And I was doing this all at home. So, I mean, it's not like I went to the rink and I did my session and I got a break. It was sort of like, how many workouts can you fit in one day?
Tough time to be an athlete, right? I mean,
we didn't have the ice, to skate on. So I got rollerblades, and then I had to rollerblade for an hour each day and try to jump on them, I guess. And, we didn't have the ice. We couldn't work on our off-ice jumps that way. So we did our jumps on the floor. We would do box jumps. We would do just...
What did that do to you emotionally?
everything.
What did it do to your mental health, your emotions?
Mentally and emotionally, it was a lot. I felt very overwhelmed during that time. I mean, beforehand, it's like it was justified to have a break on Sunday because I was skating. And because I was home, it wasn't as justifiable. So I didn't really get that like Sunday off that I usually got. And it threw me over the edge a little bit.
And how come you didn't get the Sunday off?
Once I was off the ice, it's like, oh, well, you're not skating, so that doesn't justify that you get a break.
And COVID, Brendan, Jack, you want to respond to that in terms of the whole COVID thing?
Yeah. You go.
You sure?
Yeah, man.
No, fine.
You guys, look at you're a model sibling. This is a sibling show. We didn't even make it a sibling show. Go ahead.
I mean, for us, I think at first it kind of had a similar effect, but then a very different effect. I think COVID was like kind of in a way like really good for the two of us personally until we got it 3 weeks ago. But
3 weeks ago, huh?
Yeah.
We were gonna get it at the same time.
We were gonna get it eventually.
So you see, it's not really completely over, is it, guys? I guess, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, at first, like in lockdown, like because we have some weights in our house, we were lifting like 5 days a week, 2 hours a day, which
with nothing else to do.
Sounds like a joke.
What else are you gonna do?
But for us, it was like a lot, and like we got like pretty big, like kind of too big for that we wanted to be, and then we burned out like over that summer 2020, and we didn't like work out all summer. I mean, we were active and stuff, but
yeah.
And then in the winter we were ski instructors, so we and then in the fall we coach youth football, but it allowed us to explore a lot of other interests and give us like perspective on stuff. Like in high school, if like we had a bad practice or like a bad workout, like we would be pissed off about it. Now we kind of like the perspective that like there's other things that we enjoy doing a lot also. And like we don't throw things out of proportion.
Was that because of COVID?
Yeah. You want me to take? Yeah. So like what I would like from what like Jack's perspective is because we had to live like a year where obviously we were like training for football and stuff, but obviously not to the figure skating
extent. Yeah,
that's insane. But but like we had to live a year like where we weren't playing football, and it really like kind of showed us that like it really taught us like an important balance that I think actually makes us better players. Is that like there's still like another play, another practice and all that, and that like it's gonna be fine, and not to get too caught up in like one thing at a time.
So what kind of balance did it give you?
Well, really, it gave us balance where like we really found like, well, obviously we knew we loved to ski, but we didn't know quite how much we loved to ski, and I don't know, it just kind of gave us a view that there's like a lot of stuff outside football that we enjoy also. So like even when like like when we have a bad practice, like we still have like other stuff that we like to do. So that's not like the end all be all is that one bad practice.
Makes sense. Jack, do you want to respond to that? Or?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Brennan. I mean,
not
like
that we don't get pissed if we have bad practices out.
Like in high school, we were all football all the time.
Yeah.
And the gap year like prevented us from like burning out from that.
Oh yeah.
Like 90% of our day was spent thinking about football. And like doing that for another 4 years without end like would have been tough, especially with like workload in college.
Oh yeah, no, like our level of play would have fallen because we would have burned out a little bit.
Oh yeah.
That's what Laura. That's what Laura was talking about, I think, right, Laura?
Exactly.
Finding that balance, and COVID gave you that feeling like you had, and also you had to spend more time thinking about life and yourself, right? To get more self-reflective, all of the Laura, and you were talking about that too, Laura, getting more of a balance during that time. I wasn't sure when you're saying Sundays with the COVID thing related to you having to do the thing on Sundays. I wasn't quite following that.
It was, I mean, it's just everyone always wants more from you. And the mentality is
even during COVID,
especially because the mentality is you're losing time where you could be skating, and the other mentality is
Yeah.
that you have to be successful in the sport as young as you can be. That's
Yeah.
a mentality in the sport. So
Yeah.
every single day there's this pressure that it needs to be like the best as you
So much
can. It's like
pressure.
you're running out of time. You need to be the best right now. And, you know, in practice, it's you can't leave the rink after you run a bad program. You have to
Wow.
like go back and you have to like run it again, or else you leave the day and you feel guilty and your coaches will be like, "Oh, like it's in practice," and it'll be like that in competition. And in skating, it's just different because those 3 minutes and 30 seconds could make or break your entire season.
Wow.
Great.
So let's, I'm going to bring up something. Have you all heard about what happened to the goalie at Stanford University? She killed herself.
A little bit, I think. Yeah, not a ton, but heard about it.
There's the article. I don't know if Mike can see it. Yeah, there she is. So she was a goalkeeper. She recently killed herself, and there's a lot has not come out about it. But that's the scary thing about the pressure, right? She was feeling the pressure. We don't really know what happened at Stanford, but you had Michael Phelps too, of course, and and we've had all these football players come out and talk about it. But what about that? I mean, the pressure gets so bad for a goalie at Stanford University that she takes her life. I mean, what have we come to in terms of that? Jack, go ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, like we were talking about perspective before, and I think like if she like talked like who knows if like her coaches knew about like what she was going through or anything, but like if they did, or like she talked to a therapist about it, like perspective is really important because like you shouldn't be worrying more about like how you do in a game like enough to like to want to do like more value that more than your life. And like it's just like a sad thing that people put so much pressure on people. And like you see like when an NFL, say like you're watching an NFL game and someone messes up, like that dude's getting roasted on social
Terrible.
media for weeks about it. And like their
Really.
families taking hits. And I mean, it's not fair. Like it's a game. Like everyone plays it to have fun.
So
Some
why have
people
we made
make
it so?
like,
Why have we taken it too far? Why have we made it so important?
Well, I think it's definitely because people are passionate about it, which is a good thing in that regard. But some people just take it like way too far and make it like a personal thing.
Yeah.
No one's trying to mess up. Like,
To his point, like Nick Saban had an interview pretty recently where he basically talked about like how the media and how fans, especially fans, like when their team loses, they won't be behind their own players, which is screwed up, especially because nobody wants to win more than the players and nobody feels worse after they lose than the players.
Yeah.
So everyone just piling it onto them just feels worse and worse and worse because like nobody literally, like if you're an athlete, like losing's the worst thing in the world, and everyone else piling it on really doesn't help, especially when you never know like what else that person's going through. And like with a Stanford goalie, like she also goes to Stanford, like all that like academic pressure and stuff.
She's
not a pro athlete.
She was a student athlete. So
Yeah.
So the
She's
pressure
not
will be
a pro athlete who like has like sports going on, but then after that's over, she just like goes home and is with her family. Like she's living in like I'm sure a dorm room, and whenever her sport is done, she's got to do Stanford schoolwork, which is probably harder than anything else in the world, to be honest.
So it's too much pressure. Just too much pressure.
Yeah, and especially because I'm sure she put academic pressure on herself too.
For sure. Laura, you want to address this? You want to respond to this conversation?
I mean, having to do that level of schoolwork after having hours and hours of practice. And obviously, I don't know what she was going through, but even that in itself, plus being like isolated in your dorm room and having such a busy schedule, like without any sort of balance.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So teachers and coaches really have to be more sensitive to this, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah.
So we're not, really tune in, and I think that's been one of the reasons why these shows are so important to us, right, Mike? In terms of really tuning into the pressures the kids feel, and now you got a new pressure. These soccer players from the National Olympic team, the Solo, the goalie, and Carly Lloyd. There was a recent article. Mike might have that article that was in USA Today, because now college athletes can get money now, right? And they can get endorsements. And so there was some conversation in this article. They really played to win, but there was a lot of group dissension because what was happening is that they were getting sometimes missed practice because they had endorsements and they were doing certain things. And how does that affect the morale for an athlete now in America with the pressure of making big money, like an Aaron Rodgers or Magic? Well, not Magic Johnson anymore, but Steph Curry.
Yeah.
I mean, what do we do with that now? It's the money is so big, and now you see kids I've watched fathers with 7th graders, like they're already pushing their kids. Come on, let's get the college scholarship. Let's go for the endorsements. This is a concern, right? What do we do about that? And make sure that everybody gets a trophy. Even if you didn't win, you get a trophy because we want everybody to feel good. So what's going on?
I can take this one. I mean, since we play D3, there aren't really too many or any that I've heard of D3 guys who are, doing McDonald's ads and who are making
Getting free cars and stuff.
Get free cars, none of that. And so it's nice here because it's for the love of the game and your priority is just your team. But I think you touched on the whole parents pushing for scholarships from a young age thing. And I mean you'll see everyone's been at the Little League game and there's a dad screaming at his kid,
I believe me, that
laying into him. And I just think sometimes parents we were fortunate to always have very supportive parents who would always support us, but there's really so many parents who really try to live through their kids and just end up ruining sports for their kids. And it's really sad to see because you can we went back and we coached youth football and we tried to make sure none of that was going on around our team. But you can really see how not with our team but with some teams we play against too where it's just not a healthy balance because the parents expect so much out of their 9-year-old son when Joey just wants to go out and score some touchdowns with his friends on a Saturday morning.
Laura, you're very animated. I see that face is going. So what do you think about what Brendan's saying, huh?
I definitely agree with him and what he's saying. I mean, honestly, in skating, it's just something you see so often. I mean, even my mom was, the typical skating mom. She created her own sign language to talk to me through the boards and try to tell me to do different jumps. And, I would see other skating parents, they'd be yelling at their kids. They'd be like, oh, you didn't land this jump. You didn't run your program clean. You don't get dinner tonight. That, it was a huge thing in skating. And, my parents would always say, well, every good skater has a pushy parent behind them. And it's a very fine line, I feel because there are a lot of parents in the skating world who do try to vicariously live through their kids and feel if they fail, then the parents fail. And I think the pressure just gets crazy. And I saw it from the time I was 9 years old and up in this sport. Even at a juvenile level, it's the first level where you are really getting judged professionally. And the parents think that it's the world. I see more parents going crazy about juvenile skaters than when they're in novice, junior, senior, because they feel this is the biggest thing ever. And they put so much pressure on these kids that a lot of them quit by the time they get to junior ladies.
So should I'm hearing now the young kids, every kid gets a trophy now. Should we give every kid the same thing? Everybody gets. What do we think of that? Go ahead, Brendan and Jack. All of you.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody gets a trophy now.
Maybe T-ball, yeah, sure. That way it keeps kids in the sport. Mm-hmm. But to a certain degree, you want kids to be competitive and want to improve themselves. I mean, you shouldn't be maniacal about it.
Right.
But you should I don't want to say push, but you should encourage kids to commit to it because you can learn a lot of valuable lessons from sports. You talked a lot about the negative stuff with mental health, but our like football coaches, like all of America, say like the two best man makers are the Army and football. So like you learn, like our high school coach used to say all the time, like his job was to win games, but like more importantly was like make us like better husbands and fathers and stuff. And like without a doubt, football does that. Like,
and it creates camaraderie. I hear everybody that plays football. Like I used to see some kids from New Canaan High School football. It creates camaraderie too. It teaches you how to have to work with other people and cooperate with other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Ultimate team game.
Go ahead, Brendan.
Yeah, and teach. I mean, to the like everyone gets a trophy thing. Like I don't know, I'm a competitive person, but like I think that could be important. Like when you're like, I don't know, like 5 playing t-ball to keep kids in the sport. But I think parents could also do more to, make it fun for their kids and make it like worthwhile them playing.
Just have fun, enjoy it.
Like it shouldn't be about like a trophy. Like you should play to get a trophy, but like the fact that everyone's getting a trophy shouldn't be the only reason you play, because then it's just not for the fun of it. But to the camaraderie thing, like I don't know, like you'll hear the saying a lot of football, like you're going to like war with these guys basically, because I mean really when you're on the football field it's just like 60 minutes of just everybody trying to kill each other. And it's like all you in your one color versus all them in their other color trying to destroy each other. And you really go through a lot as a team.
How about those brain injuries in football that are coming out now? I mean,
I don't know. I don't like to think about.
We're kind of old school with the ad now, but
no, there were some people that actually believed that football was going to go out of popular demand here.
The good news is a lot. Oh, you can.
No, you can go. You were starting something. Go ahead.
I was gonna say a lot. I think there's some studies that have come out that a lot of the like the CTE stuff is related to when kids will play football from a really young age, because then it'll affect brain development. But since we only started in 8th grade and we were like basically done growing almost in 8th grade, about 3 inches in high school. Like with young kids, you got to be careful. But like once you get old enough, like I mean, I don't think about it. Like I don't let it, like change the way I play, because I play because I love it. Right, so if I was thinking about safety, I wouldn't play it.
Laura, anything you want to jump in about this?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when it comes down to it, like I love skating and I love the sport in itself and the fun of it. I mean, I had to enjoy the sport under the circumstances of training and stuff, and I still loved like the training and the journey.
Yeah.
But I feel like sports teach you way more than just like the talent. They teach you how to understand yourself. They teach you independence. I mean, I didn't get the camaraderie of like having a team, but I got the camaraderie of trusting a coach, or even finding like solidarity and like training with another skater and a training partner, and we may be competing against each other, but once you get to a higher level, there's this like mutual understanding that I'm going to try to do my best, they're going to do their best, and it'll end up how it ends up.
So let's end up with, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that, like sports teach you just so many things that you can use in life.
And that's pretty much, you pretty much agree with what she's saying, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I'm going to end with the last question of the night. I saved it for the end. It's a disturbing question, but I think an important one. Let's go back to the girl gymnastics team and Larry Nassar and the Corolla Ranch and the sexual abuse that's going on in this country with some of these coaches. What do we do about that? Because they're all these men that are arrested in pre-adolescent sexual development. It's unbelievable that what those skaters went through, right? And how long we covered it up. How the even athletic organizations, the universities cover it up. We've seen stuff at Duke with the lacrosse team years ago. What do we do about these conspiracy of silences to protect the pathology that's going on around that? That's my last question tonight. Who wants it?
Sorry. I've seen it a lot in the skating world, honestly. I had 2 coaches from my rink when I was younger who... One of them is currently in jail. Another one like fled to Russia because of sexual abuse of skaters. Like it happened in my own rink.
Wow.
When I switched to another rink, another coach is now currently in jail. Like it's so common in this sport. There was recently a skating coach who, their like other skaters like came out and said, "Hey, like this guy sexually abused me," and he was a very well respected coach in the skating world. And the next day, he committed suicide. So that was a very big topic that sort of brought it to light. And they created Safe Sport, where each coach has to go through a little quiz about not sexually harassing like kids. But I feel like, these like
Wow.
smaller sports that aren't always in the public light, like football or, soccer, they can get away with way more. I mean, even bringing it back to like figure skating at the Olympics, like
Right.
Mila Valieva, I mean, she's an incredible skater and
Yeah.
I think she's amazing. But the Russian team has been drugging their skaters for so long.
Exactly.
And only now is it coming out in the media and in the news. I mean, it's been whispered about for at least like a decade or so, or more.
And do you think she knew? You think she knew that she was going to be
I mean, I don't think she knew, but also it's not the kid's responsibility. I mean, the coach was giving these kids drugs essentially because she knew what was going on. Their federation knew what was going on. They've been covering it up for years. And at the Olympics, there was a private meeting. I don't know any specifics about it, but Kamila Valieva, after being tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, still got to compete. I mean, I feel like there was definitely some political, scandal in some sense with that. I mean, I'm not one to say what's right or wrong.
But she couldn't get a medal. They didn't give her a medal ceremony.
Well, if she had podiumed, they were not going to give her a medal ceremony. Like if she got first, they weren't going to give a medal ceremony to any of the skaters.
Exactly.
I mean, I think she was feeling the pressure of it all, and it's a lot for a 15-year-old girl to go through, because I'm sure she had no idea what was going on.
Do you two want to jump in on this quickly on this whole subject? This is a big subject, and I realize it could be a whole other show. I realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saved an easy question for the end. I don't know.
I saved the best for last.
Yeah. Best or the worst, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Since, there's 90 guys on our team in high school, 50 guys, you're I don't know, you're never in the training room by yourself anyways. And there isn't really as much of an avenue for this sort of stuff to occur. I'm sure it's happened somewhere, and I don't have any experience on it, so I don't really want to make assumptions about how common it is. But I know in the smaller sports, you're spending, I don't know, 6-7 hours a day with one or two coaches, and a lot of times one-on-one, I'm sure, and they're really stressed out, young adults from and they're kids who probably, I don't know, 8 to 18 who are there all the time and don't necessarily know what's going on, and I don't know, the whole thing's just really messed up.
Jack, you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, and I agree, because your coach, especially, your coach is definitely someone you're supposed to put your trust and your faith in, and luckily that doesn't happen very often in football that I know of. But when that happens in an individual sport, when you yourself puts 100% of your trust and commitment into one coach, and then they turn that on its head and take advantage of you, that's just a systemic problem, and that can't be good for what we were talking about, mental health, that, because then you feel betrayed, insecure, everything.
So what do we do about this, Mike? I'll put you in here. What do we do about this problem in America?
I mean, I think just with anything, there's always the potential for trusted people to get, to take advantage of those that put their trust in them. And I think, the system just needs to have checks and balances in place so that there's people that are accountable. So like we're, saying with mental health professionals, if you have a coach, if it's just one coach working on with one person, there should be another person there that they can another adult there that they can rely on
and
to
crack through the cover-ups. And how about the cover-ups, Mike? We got to crack through the cover-ups, right?
Well, I mean, I don't think there's any solution, but I think the more, like I said, the more checks and balances we put in place so that athletes have more than one avenue to go for help or to go for advice, I think that better off we'll be.
So let's end on this note. One more thing. You all watch the Olympics. I don't Mikhail Shefrin, the skier, the gold medal skier. She was everybody expected to win all these gold medals, right? She didn't win any. Her father had passed away. Remember there was that scene when she was in the snow by herself. I don't know if it was her mother who came by. Somebody came by to comfort her. What do we learn from watching somebody like a Mikhail Shifrin, who was expected to be a 5-6 medal gold medalist in the Olympics, who knows what was going on with her, right? She lost her dad.
And I mean, also, she's probably beating herself up right now because, let's be real, she's the best that's ever done it.
Oh yeah.
But she didn't get to do any practice runs because they canceled it for COVID.
Right.
Which
is ridiculous.
I mean, it's ridiculous because it's outside and the Chinese athletes get to train there all the time. So she should it's not her fault. And I follow her on social media and stuff. Big skiing guy.
Yeah.
It seems like she was stressed out about it, but she was turning that into positivity because she competed in 5 events. And she DQ'd in the first 2 of them, I think it was. And she was still posting tough day, I feel bad and feel like I let myself, my trainers, coaches, and my fans down. But she was motivating herself for other things, which I would assume definitely helped her push through it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So we sit. Go ahead. Brendan.
No, I was gonna say I'm sure Laura would have something to say about this because it's a sport like ski racing. You can lose one edge on one turn, and then bam, best in the world's out of the competition from one turn, and they didn't even get to do practice runs, and it's a completely new course to her, and it's all man-made snow.
Man-made snow, yeah.
Skiing's one of those sports where the best isn't gonna win every single time because it comes down to 1/100th of a second, and figure skating, the tiniest little detail will make the person who's clear cut number 1 finish in 9th, and it's just to beat people up over that's just insanity.
Laura, you want the last word on this before we end?
Sure. I mean, yes, definitely in sports like skiing and skating, the variables can make or break you in so many ways. But as far as the mental aspect goes, I understand that, those types of things, definitely can get in the way in, skiing or skating or any sport. If something tragic has happened and it somehow pops into your mind when you're doing your sport, I mean, that can also affect you. And another part of me is sometimes it's just life. Sometimes you don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes you catch an edge, and that's the end of your season.
But there's always another possibility, another chance, right?
There's always another chance.
So So we're going to end with you, with each of you. We always do this at the end, a very brief statement to people watching tonight about what would you like people to learn from tonight's show. We'll start with you, Laura. What do you want people to learn tonight about mental health and athletes?
I want them to learn that it's extremely important to speak up if you're feeling pain, if mentally you need a break. It's so important that in the moment you do something about it, because if you let it fester and you think, no, I'm fine, I've got this, I'll be fine, it just gets worse, and it can really make it hard to love your sport. So I would say if you're feeling something mentally or physically, work it out.
Ask for help.
Work it out. Figure out what works for you. Ask for help.
I like it. Thanks a lot. Brendan, you're next.
Yeah, I would say don't kill athletes when they lose, because nobody feels worse about it than them, and nobody wants to win more than them. And just beyond that, just be kind. It's not that hard at all. You never know what other people are going through, and you never know what a smile or a favor for somebody else will do for their day.
Thanks. That's pretty good. I like that a lot too. Jack?
Yeah, and just want to say perspective is important. Stressing the little things can make you great, but if you overstress them, that can just lead to your downfall, mentally and physically. And sure, everyone wants to win, but you play the sport because you love it and because it's fun. And anything you do that you're passionate about, it's just
it's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun. And Mike, what do you think of tonight's show, and what do you want to add to that? Don't kill athletes.
Yeah,
Don't kill athletes.
That
I
was a
saw
good
that one.
comment.
That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't kill athletes.
That'll be a famous quote that'll go down in history.
That will be a famous quote. So,
I
Mike, what do you
think
think?
that what we should learn is to talk about these things. I mean, that's what Kids Are Talking is about. We need to have these conversations, find out what the difficulties are from the athletes directly, from the kids, and have those conversations, the difficult conversations, and really try to flesh out what needs to be done and where the struggles are and what we can do to make things better for everybody.
I like the whole idea of having fun, not making it winning at all costs. I mean, we all like to win, but we can also have to learn how to lose
Absolutely.
and take the pressure off. Maybe I would have stayed. Maybe basketball would have been in my life a little longer if I had the wisdom of what came out tonight. So thank you all for being here, Jack, Brandon, the twins. Man, you guys get along, don't you?
Yeah,
You get along.
You saw a good interaction tonight.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
They were on their best behavior for you.
I'm sure your
Dr.
parents
Don.
are proud of you. You're a good role model for America to see.
Thank
you.
You're always curious about twins, and
a lot of people are. We've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they're very right. Aren't they curious about you, right?
Oh yeah, we've heard.
Yeah, some guy told us one time he wanted to do experiments on us, so that was interesting.
We were like 13, and
we're like 13 years old at a restaurant, and we're like,
And Laura, thank you for coming tonight and bringing your perspective. And how was it, the three of you together? Did you enjoy being together tonight?
Yeah.
Well, I enjoyed. We
Yeah, it
enjoyed
was a good balance of like.
yeah, it's interesting.
Like an individual sport with a lot of pressure, and then a couple of meatheads. So
yeah, exactly.
The balance.
We'll see you backstage, and from all of your Kids Are Talking, I need to tell you that next week's show we're working on it is a very important show. We cannot ignore what's going on in Europe right now and what's going on in Ukraine, and we're going to try to put a show together next week to really explore. On Kids Are Talking, what are the youth feeling about what's going on right now in Europe? And so from all of us, our Kids Are Talking, we all are praying for peace for all those people. And in the end, what really matters is to be kind, to love. And I think next week's show is going to be a very important show. And thank you so much, because this show's been overdue, and we'll see you all next week from All Our Kids Are Talking.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here tonight.
So much.
We'll see you backstage.